How you doing, buddy?
Really good. Looking forward to talking some horror.
Me too. There's been a few things that have come down the pipeline this week. One sad development, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you want to address that right off the top, just
Oh
because.
man, John Saxon. He's one of those actors where I think the vast majority of people have seen a film with him in, even if they don't know his name. For someone who's really known for kind of B movie films and horror films in the 80s and 90s, what I actually know him for is Enter the Dragon. That's him to me.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
But
More than Nightmare on Elm
more
Street?
than Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah. More
Interesting.
than Nightmare on
Okay.
Elm Street, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can picture him when I think of Nightmare on Elm Street. I can picture him there.
Of course, but
But
it's
for me, it's Enter the Dragon was such a massive film for me when I was growing
that's what
up.
yeah, that's what jumps out at you. Yeah, of
Yeah, that's
course.
that's the one that jumps out. But pick your genre because he covered it, westerns and
Oh,
all
he done
sorts.
everything. Yeah, he done everything, man. He had such a great career, and he's one of them actors that, as you dive kind of further back into cinema, he's just popping
Yeah.
up everywhere. Like you said, Enter the Dragon. He done a film with Clint Eastwood. Like you said, he done a few
Oh, mate, you
westerns.
went right back to the 50s. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, when we was looking into it for this, we all know our films. That's the thing. Everyone knows a film that he's been in, and everyone will say a different film is what they think of, probably depending on your age as well. And he's
Oh, of
he's been
course.
making films all the way up as well. But do you know who he reminds me of in that regard?
Go on.
Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Just someone who has crossed
Yes.
genres, just film after film after film.
Definitely, I can see that comparison. I can
I
definitely
think,
see that comparison.
I can say, I think probably he's massive Hollywood first film was probably Enter the Dragon, but I think
Oh, definitely.
most people our age around that are going to know him from Nightmare on Elm Street. I think three
Yeah, not
films he did there as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, he was in and out of that franchise, but also Black Christmas, if I'm
Yep.
not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that's right. Yeah.
Considering this is a horror podcast, if you've just into your horror, you've definitely seen him
Oh, yeah.
in quite a few films. Was he in a Dario Argento film as well, I believe, back in the early 80s? The guy was just, yeah, everywhere, and obviously returned for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and I believe made his final outing in Wes Craven's A New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just popping up everywhere.
And I completely forgot about that he was in this, but for his very short role in From Dusk Till Dawn,
Yes, yes, he does.
and
He does pop up in from Dust Till Dawn.
if
You're
you're
right.
if you're looking at Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino as two directors who really know who they want to be in a film, and it doesn't matter whether they're current or not, they pick decent actors, actors who have a
Yeah.
pedigree. So from just him being in that film, there's something about him. He's the real deal.
Well, from what I understand, that's why Craven put him in the original Nightmare on Elm Street film, because he needed an actor with some serious acting chops that would
Yeah,
really ground that story in reality. You've obviously got the great performance of Robert Englund, but you need that weight on the other side to really pin it down in reality and really bring the fear home. And I think having him, in that film and play the role he plays really brings that home. Really, he's a really underappreciated actor, a really,
mm,
really great, solid actor that I don't think got the credit he deserves. So it's very sad he's passed away, but the silver lining to it is, from what I saw, is a lot of people are really appreciating his work. A lot of people have gone back and visited some of the films maybe you're not aware he was in,
mm.
and really appreciating the guy for the talent he had, and rightfully so.
Yeah, he'll be sorely missed, won't he?
Oh, definitely, definitely, and like I said, it's nice people are going back and rediscovering the work he put in before Nightmare, and rightfully so. I think that's why, from the top of this podcast, we had to bring him up, and may rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's jump into some news. We've had some pretty cool trailers make the waves around there. You sent me
Yeah.
the link to Terrifier 2.
Oh man.
So go
So,
on, thoughts?
well, firstly, what did you think of Terrifier as the film?
Okay. I didn't mind it, but I didn't love it either. It didn't connect with me on a level it
Yeah,
connected with
yeah,
some people, where it become this huge cult film. However, with that said, I fully understand why it did become that
yeah.
film. that's purely a personal take on the film. It's not a slight on the film
Do
whatsoever.
you know what? I'm going to echo that because
Okay.
I remember when I started seeing pictures of Art the Clown, and I thought, man, what film is this from? As I've got to see it. He looks so
Right. Yeah.
creepy, and you start to see clips of him and that kind of thing. I think this is great. I'm so excited to see it. And when I finally saw Terrifier, it didn't really cut it for me. I can't really. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was. I kind of feel like and God knows this is no criticism of the director, but it felt like to me, in the absence of a decent special effects budget, they were just throwing as much gore as possible at it.
Right. Yeah.
And that for me, like, there's the scene that sticks out for that is, if I recall rightly, there's like the diner where the two guys
Yeah.
kind of confront Art and he attacks them.
Yeah.
It just the effects there just totally weren't believable to me. The funny thing for me though is, although it's not that I didn't like the film, I did same as you, I didn't mind the film, and I'd probably watch it again. But I loved Art the Clown.
Oh,
I
hell yes.
didn't
Hell
mind the
yes.
film, but I loved Art the Clown,
Oh yeah.
and I want more of him.
Oh
And
yeah. Like, I'm gonna jump straight on the back of that. I think this is why I was interested in this trailer. This is why I thought, yeah, definitely we're talking about this trailer, because if you get anything from that film, or let's turn it around, right? Let's say if you don't get anything from that film, I think
mm,
you'll be very, very hard pressed
yeah,
to find someone that doesn't appreciate the work that was put into art. I mean, the makeup is incredible, the overall look is incredible, the actor playing art and bringing that character to life, and the
yeah,
mannerisms and kind of the little world building they done around him and stuff. I That really works. That really resonates, and we'll get into it in a bit more depth in a minute. But in terms of the trailer, I thought that was really interesting. Again, the thing that really
yep,
stood out for me was art, and I feel like
totally,
they've really I feel like they understood that too, and they knew where their selling point was, and I think that's an incredible achievement as well. The fact that art has become a real cult icon now,
mm.
and that's incredible for an independent film. But what were your thoughts on the Terrifier 2 trailer?
Mate. The first thing that struck me was that the very first thing. I mean, it's barely a second into it, and you've got that really deep 70s style
Right.
sound effect
Yeah.
introduced. That kind of
Yeah.
bow.
Yeah.
That loved it straight away. It gave me chills.
Yeah.
Um, there's a scene in there where Art is leaning against a wall and he gives a little eyebrow rise, which I really thought was pretty cool. But overall, I kind of felt like I could already see that the production values are up, so it gives me hope that it's going to be a better overall film than the first one. I mean, even if it's not, even if it's the same, I'll still enjoy it because I want to see Art the Clown.
Like, without a doubt, like you said, if I get out of it what I get out of the first one, that
Did you
all that means is I get art out of it, and
did
that's
you
great.
know it was crowdfunded?
Yeah, I was it an Indiegogo camp, but wasn't that just for half of the budget or something? Didn't
Well,
they kind
I'm
of had
not.
money there, I think,
I
but
would have
then they
thought
wanted
they.
to
I
top it
mean,
up.
I would have thought they would have done, but apparently their budget on whatever it was, the platform, whatever it was, they
Yeah,
wanted to raise 50 grand,
right.
and they rose over £200,000
Well, that
from
just
their campaign.
doesn't that just speak to what they done with that first film? Like, that
Y-
is,
Yeah,
as an
and I
independent
think
filmmaker myself, that is the dream.
so.
The
You
dream
know
is that.
how difficult it is to keep that. I mean, I know several people who have run crowdfunding campaigns, and they've told me, and I'm sure you'll agree, that it's almost like a job in itself.
Oh, it
Just
is a job in itself.
the
It's a
you know the
24-hour.
the rewards and
Yeah,
giving people updates and
yeah.
promoting it, but not over promoting it to piss
Well,
people
yeah,
off.
it's
And
a
it's
it's a
a
it's
fine
a full
line.
time job while you're running it, but also you never fully quit on it. I mean, for the development, to kind of take it out to investors and to get
Mm,
the backing for Walking Against the Rain that we needed, we ran a Kickstarter campaign that was a development campaign basically, so we could put together the materials and a trailer and all that kind of stuff that then we could take out to investors and get the money, and that worked. And thank you very much to everyone that backed that. But I'm still now, sending out updates on that
yeah,
campaign,
sure.
and it doesn't stop. And the thing is, you've got to. It takes a long time for them things to come full circle. Like
Mm,
my last short film, Black Mass, we still haven't fully completed all the perks on that, because the last thing we've sent out all the posters, we've sent out the concept art, we've sent out all the signed merch and stuff, but we still haven't sent out the DVDs and Blu-rays, because you can't really send that stuff out until your festival run is over. Because unfortunately we've had some dodgy experience in the past where we've sent some stuff out early and it gets leaked and stuff, and
Yeah,
we know
yeah,
a few other filmmakers that have. So you just kind of have to protect yourself there a little bit. But the thing is, it's weird, right? Because it's a double-edged sword. If you end up having a very successful festival run and you go for a year or two on the festival circuit, it means that then final perks are not getting sent out for a year or two.
yeah, yeah,
The people that back your campaign are amazing. They know this and they understand this, and
yeah,
they fully support that. But yeah, it's a full job in itself. So then to bring it back around to Terrifier 2, to be or touch on Terrifier 1, to do what they done with Terrifier 1, get some money, but feel like, right, we're going to go bigger. We're going to run a Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign to do 50 grand. Was it 50 grand you said?
yeah.
Um,
50 grand. Yeah,
right, and then to do like 200, that speaks volumes to their ability to run a crowdfunding campaign. It also just
yeah,
speaks to the ability of what they achieved with that first film,
yeah.
and the fact that they were able to go out there and create this cult figure that really resonated with people, and this indie film that people feel like they're a part of and they can buy into.
As much as you got to credit the director's vision, I think it's David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. I mean, that the link. I don't know if you watched it, but I sent you a short link
Yes, I did. Yeah, yeah,
where it says he was interviewed. I mean, obviously he's not interviewed; he's in
yeah.
character. But a little while ago, I heard an interview with him, and it was talking about how he got the part, and basically he had to go into a room and just improvise. And I
Oh,
think,
interesting. Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this guy was a full-time school teacher before this part, and he like struggling actor, jobbing about a
Yeah,
bit.
I believe most of them were struggling
Yeah,
artists
and
before the first one.
so he's gone to this interview, and Damien Leone has just said to him, just improvise, just be a scary clown. What an intimidating thing, and you can't really visualize it when he said, "So I did this and I did that."
Of
But
course.
in the clip that I showed you, you can see he's improvising, and it's magic, and
Oh, it's great. It's
you
great.
can imagine all the little bits and bobs he actually put into the film that were his own making, and he
Oh,
wasn't
without a
necessarily
doubt. If
directed to
you,
do that.
I say this as a director, you can create the most memorable characters in the world, but if you don't have an actor that's willing to bring them to life, it doesn't work. It all falls down, and in terms of creatures and monsters and icons. The guy that I worked with, an incredible actor called James Swanton, who has done a lot of films under heavy makeup. He was the guy that we put under makeup for Darkness, and all of the credit we have got for Darkness, 50% of that should go to KMFX, who built that suit and the prosthetic he wears, and the other 50% is fully on James, because it doesn't matter what the director or that Chris, yeah, okay, we have to put it down on page, and we have to get you there. If that actor doesn't deliver, and it can be in terms of fully ham and going overboard if that's going to work, or
Mhm.
it's about really, really restraining that performance when you need to restrain a performance. And sometimes, character actors, they don't get the credit they deserve, man. So yeah, I'm glad you gave a shout out, because he fully deserves it.
I don't know if you know any more on this, but apparently it's still slated for an October release. Now, I know
Yeah,
we
I have
spoke
seen.
about Candyman being still slated as October, but it's probably quite unlikely. Do you feel this is maybe a bit more likely, given it's not
Yeah, I
likely to
think
get
it
a
is.
massive
Yeah,
opening in cinemas?
yeah, I think it is. I think the cinemas that are going to be open come October, the amount of screens that they can play in October, it's kind of going to be roundabout where they would have been anyway.
Yeah.
You're not going to get. The reality is, with independent films like this, you don't get 8 weeks of straight sellout screening, 10 screenings
Mm,
a day.
mm,
It's just a reality. It doesn't work. So, I can imagine it's going to have a few decent festival screenings. Hopefully, if some of the bigger festivals are still happening later this year. And, I would love to see it at, I know Fright Fest in the UK has moved their physical, they're doing a digital event next month to cover their normal August event, but obviously their
yeah.
physical event is now moved to their October Halloween slot, but rather than being an all day, they're opening it up for like a week long event again. I'd love to
Yeah,
see it.
that'd be good.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Seeing it on the big screen in Leicester Square, that would be amazing. But I think hopefully, there's going to be a few American festivals that take it come the end of the year as well. And it all kind of leads into that October time frame. And yeah, I can see it going out, and I can imagine shortly after you'll be able to pick it up on VOD.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know? I think that's how I watched Terrifier. think
Yeah,
that's
same.
how an
Yeah,
Amazon
same.
app.
I watched it on Sky when it came on Sky.
Yeah. Do you know?
Yeah,
I think I'm going to give it another whirl. Give it another whirl
I
just to
definitely will.
re-familiarize myself.
Yeah, before number two comes out. Yeah, I'm gonna dive down that rabbit hole. Just before we close on Terrifier 2, I just want to touch on that interview you did send me with the director and
Mm.
uh, yeah, kind of art because like you said, it's full on
Art
character
in
and
mime.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the director, I didn't know that he was fully responsible for the makeup as well.
Yeah. No, I thought that was wow.
Right,
3 hours as
incredible.
well.
Yeah, incredible. Like he's a professional makeup, prosthetics designer, and to
So he
create
he
that makeup on art is amazing.
come up with the character, write the story, direct it, and by the way, while you're doing those two other jobs, I'm going to sit in makeup for 3 hours and do the makeup.
And doing the makeup, unbelievable.
Because even like the minimal things, you could argue, okay, well, someone else can fill in the black and draw the eyebrows, but no, he wants to make sure it's
Oh,
absolutely
he's there.
correct.
He's making sure it's all coming together the way
That's fantastic.
he envisions. It's incredible. Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that before we move on because I thought that was absolutely incredible.
But he
Absolutely.
did hint at a possible part three as well.
I could see it. I could see it. I think that's already
It's got to
happened.
be, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's already happened. I think once they smash that Kickstarter campaign, they they were doing number three straight away.
Yeah.
Definitely, I can see it happening. So let's touch on something else we spoke about this week,
Hmm.
and something that I'm pretty bloody excited about. So, a new series starring Sarah Paulson is based on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Are you a fan of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I am. Great film. More to the point, I'm a fan of American Horror Story, and I think
Yes.
Sarah Paulson, along with Evan Peters, are the two best things in it. Not that Evan's in this,
I
but
mean, I love that whole cast. I mean, Sarah Paulson is definitely the standout for me, but
how do you feel about American Horror Story in general? I think that the last time we spoke about this, I don't know if you remember, was getting drinks in Wembley at a Ghost concert.
it was getting tricked. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. What a great bloody concert that was.
Oh, mate, we're gonna have to do an episode on Ghost.
Oh,
You
we're
know,
doing this. So that's in the
semi
pipeline.
horror.
Yeah, that's in the pipeline. That's in the pipeline. That has to be in the pipeline. What a great concert. What a great. You've just made me want to go and listen to some Ghost. No, so
I know, I
yeah,
know.
I haven't seen the last season yet. The
1984?
Yes, I haven't seen that season
No, me
as
neither.
of yet. I am caught up, however, before that. I think some seasons are hit or miss.
Yeah, it's
Um,
got peaks and troughs, but overall, I think it's
overall,
fantastic.
overall, yeah, I really like it. The what was the season before '84? It was Apocalypse, right?
Apocalypse, yeah.
I really like that season.
See, I didn't like that one, but
See, that
I
worked for
like
me.
the one you didn't like, which was Roanoke.
Yes, yeah, no, I didn't. That did not work for me.
But
But
there you go, it's something for
that's
everyone.
oh, I totally agree. For me, that's the way we should consume art. Is we don't have to love everything that's put out by the artists we like. I actually think that is quite a toxic way of looking
Mm,
at the world that we
mm,
have at the minute. One of my favorite musical artists of all time is Prince.
yeah,
Prince would put out stuff I absolutely adored. Prince would also put out stuff I absolutely hated.
mm,
But that was the point. The point
exactly.
was that he was making stuff for everyone. So, an album that I absolutely adored, someone else would not like. But the album they adored, I didn't like. But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You've still got the stuff you like, right? And what I do appreciate with Ray and Oak, I really appreciate the way they went for something completely different.
So this Ratched,
Yeah.
let's call it Ratched. Do we actually know that it's a horror?
We don't know what it is. I would guess based on some of the images that have been released, and it's Ryan Murphy. I mean, look, they've done stuff. Sarah Paulson and Ryan Murphy have both done stuff together that's not horror. But
American Crime Story.
right, I feel like this is leaning towards horror
Mm,
a little bit,
mm.
especially where it's set inside an asylum. You've got a lot you can play around with there. In all honesty, though, I kind of don't want to know anything. I
Mm.
want to go in with what we've got, throw this on, and be like, okay, let's do it.
We don't actually have a release date yet, do we?
No, there's no release date yet. We've only got a cast list and a synopsis, I guess.
I'm really looking forward to it, and apparently it's been commissioned for 2 seasons, and it was done. That was done in 2017.
Yeah, it's been. I remember when they first announced this, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when I first read about this, I don't remember Ryan Murphy being attached. I'm kind of even more excited now because you've got a few actors
Yeah.
from American Horror Story coming back. Sharon Stone,
Is she really? I didn't
Sharon
realise
Stone,
that.
which is incredible. Haven't seen Sharon Stone for a while, so
Wouldn't it be
I'm
wouldn't it be great
excited about that.
to give Jack Nicholson a little cameo?
Oh, that'd be great. Think he's
That'd be brilliant.
I think he's too busy watching the
But
Lakers
the,
and
but the thing is, if it was timed correctly, and it might not be, I could see Evan Peters playing Jack Nicholson's role from the film.
oh yeah, yeah, I could see that. I could see it. I'm really interested in what they're doing. I would love to see a few more American Horror Story cast. I'm a big Emma Roberts fan,
Yes.
so I'd love to see Emma Roberts in this environment. I think her style of acting is great for that. And while we're on the subject, Billy
Yeah.
Lloyd's style of acting would be perfect for this. Absolutely perfect.
I also want to wave the flag for Angela Bassett
Oh
and
hell,
Kathy Bates.
oh it doesn't matter what they're in. They're always fantastic. they are. They could act their way out of a black hole.
The
They're
funny thing is with American Horror Story, they seem to get good pairings that work together.
oh, it's probably one of the best cast shows
Yeah.
on TV. And coming up to season 10, they're adding Macaulay Culkin,
Oh, Macaulay Culkin.
right? That's incredible. I can't wait for that.
The thing is, like, if we go back to Terrifier 2, I want to see it, and that's a kind of get in, get out. This is something that I want to delve into and get attached to and, care about the characters.
Yes,
And
this is
yeah,
something I want to
looking
live with.
forward to
I
it.
want to live with this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Just keep going back. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, let's see. And obviously, we're regardless if it's horror or not, we're definitely bring it back up and share our thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
as it happens. So I'm going to jump on to something else you sent me, which jumped out at me because I had no idea this was a thing. I had no idea A24 were doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah, for anyone that knows, A24 is like my favorite film production company. I
they have
love everything they put
produced
out.
some of the best films of recent years.
Yeah, for me, they're when I was saying earlier that the brand that Terrifier plays into didn't connect with me as much.
Mm,
Obviously, there's a lot of people out there where A24's films do not, they do not buy into that brand.
mm.
I am fully in on that brand.
Yeah,
I
I
am
love
like
them.
shut up and take my money on everything they fucking do. And one of the absolute highs for me over the last few years is Hereditary.
Yep.
So yeah, just touch on this.
The reason why I thought this would be good to talk about was I've never really considered buying a screenplay
Okay.
as something to keep. And the reason is a lot of screenplays perfectly legally are available if
Yeah.
you want to download them, read them. BBC makes loads of its stuff freely available.
Yeah, kind of anything that gets award nominated ends up
Yeah,
being put out to the public so you can have your judgment on it.
but the reason why I thought this was cool is it's absolutely a collector's thing. The book itself looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
The way
it's
the way they produced it, all the little bits and pieces as well. The notes of Ari Aster's seance scene in there,
yeah.
and he's got some play-by-play explanations of the scenes that he took in that section. And I think Hereditary is probably, as you say, one of the highlights of A24. I think it to me it speaks volumes that this is for all the films that they've produced. This is only the fourth one that they've released in this format.
Well, it's right. So here's the thing. I was completely unaware of this format. I think I had seen something a few months back about like there being a possibility of this, just a little something, and I saw no more. So I kind of forgot about it, if I'm completely honest. So then you send me this, and you're like, take a look at this, and you know what a fan of Hereditary I am. And then when I click on it, right, I love Hereditary, but then I also see, and you just touched on it, there are four titles in this book format, and one of them is The Witch.
Don't even get me started. I love The Witch.
The Witch. I like. I don't say this often with like new films. They never go into my greatest films of all time list, right? Because I just have this belief that to become one of the greatest films of all time, to become a real classic, a real five-star film, you have to transcend into being more than just a simple picture. The Witch just went straight in for me. It's like it
I
broke
loved
all
it.
my rules. It broke all my rules. I remember watching it in a cinema in Essex where I live, and we started with a very small crowd of about 8 people, and we finished with me.
Serious?
Yeah, yeah, serious. Yeah, everyone
People
else
didn't
walked out.
people didn't grab hold of it.
No, everyone walked out. I
Oh
mean, we
man,
started
it
we started with small credit, but yeah, The Witch just it done everything for me, man. So to see that Hereditary's on it, see The Witch is on it, and then just to complete it, Moonlight, which is another great film, and Ex Machina, which again is a superb film. I love Ex Machina.
do you reckon you'll be getting this book then?
Yeah, I think so.
They're
I
quite
think
pricey though, aren't they?
that's the problem, and I haven't even checked if they ship to the UK, but I do have a couple of friends in the US, so this might be going to them.
How did
So
you feel about Hereditary compared to Midsummer?
I really enjoyed them both. I did prefer Hereditary.
I thought Midsummer was okay. I
Okay.
enjoyed it. I didn't love it. Hereditary, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah,
Really, really
Hereditary.
loved it.
I've gone back to Hereditary multiple times, and every time I get something else out of it. Is there anything else you wanna touch on before we get to your
I
famous creepy link of the week?
I think yeah, I think it's this time for the now famous creepy link of the week. Very different to last week. This is a short horror film come out a couple of weeks ago called Devil's Door, and it's from a production company called Social House Films that do a lot of commercials and stuff in LA. But they have been producing short horror films monthly ish on their YouTube channel. And there was a couple of specific reasons why I wanted you to see this, but I want to get your take on it first.
Okay. So out of the gate, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was built up really nicely. I'm really on a side note. I'm really glad that this early on we've started covering short films because it's
Mm,
definitely a passion of mine that I wanted to
mm,
touch on. So I'm really glad we've got one out of the way. But yeah, I think this was a really great one to start with. I think it's really well done. It reminded me a hell of a lot of the Pony Smasher shorts. So if you're unaware, they are uh, David F. Sandberg's
mm.
short films. The guy that made Lights Out, very famous short film Lights Out, that become a
Yep.
Hollywood feature, and the guy is now killing it. Just made Shazam. Great filmmaker actually, and from what I understand, a really really nice guy, a really lovely guy. And yeah, just on a sidebar, go and check out his stuff because if you're interested in filmmaking and the way stuff works, and even the way the Hollywood system works, he has continued to put out content on his YouTube channel that shares that. But yeah, if you've seen any of their work, this really reminded me of that. I thought it was built up really, really well. I liked the way it was going kind of one way at the start and then
Mm.
twisted. You have that comic relief moment and then you get serious. But yeah, it worked for me, man. It was had some really creepy moments. I thought the effects, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but the whole film is set up basically around one woman who is doing her eyebrows in the mirror as the film picks up, and then the whole film then plays out in front of this mirror. And the way they frame some of them shots where one of the mirrors is like just picking up her hand or something like
Yeah,
that, where
yeah,
like you're being,
yeah.
and that's in the background, but you're kind of like, okay, I think that was her hand. Was it?
You,
Was
you
that something
became you
else?
became lost in the mirrors, didn't you?
You
As it
did.
kind of ramps up.
You become really paranoid in
Mm.
the mirrors. There was like some real anxiety around. Okay, is there something behind her? Is something going to jump out now? Is something going to take her? Is something going to happen? And for me, that's where the film hit its heights. I feel like when we get to the end, and again, I will reinforce this is just a personal preference of mine. I appreciate that it wasn't full on cheap jump scare at the end.
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, I feel like when they go down that kind of path, for me, it's just something like I've seen a million times at this point.
Yep, yep.
So I don't really need to see it anymore. But I do appreciate the way they handled it in this.
I kind of felt there were several things that I thought were relatively unique that I thought were worth talking about, which I really enjoyed straight from the beginning. The first one is that there's very little or no dialogue at all spoken, and that leads into the fact that it's all done by the dialogue is all given by text between
Yeah,
two people.
yeah,
I like the way it came up on the screen. I liked the way, from the first half anyway, they moved away from the female being the victim, and it was very unusual. It felt unique to have the guy being the potential victim, and her worried about him. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoyed that. Um, I really enjoyed uh, the sound design of it. I thought there were some great sound effects in it.
completely. Right. I think it all works based on the sound design.
And as it went through, I felt really tense for it and anxious of what was going to happen next. But the thing is, when we get to the end, here's my here's my two questions to you. Did it scare you? And if it didn't scare you, did it fail as a horror?
Oh, interesting. Um, no, it didn't scare me. Right, okay, let me answer the first question first. No, it didn't scare me, but purely because I knew where it was going. Like I
Yep.
said, you
Yep.
know, we've seen that scare, so I kind of always know when them endings are coming, and sometimes they're done very well. I actually thought this one was done very very well.
Mm,
This is I fully enjoyed this. This didn't ruin the film for me. Where I've seen it in other films and it ruins the film for me because I'm like, oh God's sake, why did you go there? This I enjoyed, and
yeah.
then that brings me on to the second question: does it fail as a horror film? No, I don't think it does because it depends what you want out of a horror film. For
Mm,
me,
mm,
horror is about the overall experience. It's about the emotions and the story that you're trying to convey within whatever time frame you have. And this was very successful at that. It's
yeah.
6 minutes something,
Yeah.
and in that 6 minutes, for me, they conveyed all the emotion and all the dread and the paranoia that they set out to do. I'll throw the question back to you then. How did the ending work on you?
I think I appreciated that it wasn't an all-out jump scare.
Yes.
Because the reveal is much slower than there's no time to be shocked because you almost what without spoiling it you almost see it happening
You
as it's
see it
happening.
happening, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and when you see it, it wasn't what I was expecting to see, so I
Okay.
quite like that. It was I was expecting I don't know what it was, some horrible demon that was going to
Yeah, of
try
course.
and overly scare me, but it wasn't like that at all. Um, there's a bit halfway through where involving her eyes that I thought was actually more of a scare than the end.
That
Uh,
shot, the shot you're referring to,
yeah.
that was the thing that really, really reminded me of the Pony Smasher
Mm,
shorts. Because if you have you seen the Lights Out short?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you think
Yeah.
about,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
do you know what I
When
mean?
it's
The
like the
very
bedside
ending.
table. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're right there.
Yeah, that really stood out to me from that. I was like, oh, okay, that looks exactly like
Mm,
that, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, look how bloody successful that short
yeah.
film is, and look how successful this short film is. This again, nowhere slight. The short film's more successful than anything I've ever done. So what do I know? Yeah, no, no, seriously, like
Yeah.
it. But that's the great thing again, man. Coming back to just because it doesn't work for me or my brand of horror, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's not bad. It's a fucking
No.
great. It's a
Exactly.
great short film.
I think it's very. I think it's very difficult in 6 minutes to actually terrify someone, and I think that wasn't necessarily the point of the film. I think the cynic in me, I think this is them more than anything showcasing what they can do. And I think in 6 minutes to create a character that I really care for and I'm worried about what's going to happen to her, that was achieved without any vocal dialogue at all. And I thought
Oh,
that was
completely.
very, very good.
Well, on that note, and again, something you touched on, where all the dialogue is placed on the screen in the form of text messages,
Mm,
that is normally a huge pet peeve of mine. I normally hate that. I normally can't stand that. It did not bother me one bit in this film. I thought because you come out the gate like it, and they
yeah.
don't use it as a gimmick, the editing of this film is fantastic. The editing and the direction is incredible,
Mm,
and I think that's why it works for me. And I think overall, the overall presentation and the again, the fear, the dread, the paranoia that they create is great. Like you said, in 6 minutes, if this is a proof of concept or just a
mm.
look at what we can do, yeah, fucking give them some money. I'd love to see what they could do with a full length
I
feature
think
film.
they're quite a small company as well because the lady who actually plays the main actor in it, she's actually a writer and producer of the company as well. She's one of
Oh
two
no way!
founders. Yeah,
No,
and
she's pretty fucking solid as an actress,
if
man.
you go onto their website, Social House Films, I mean, check out their YouTube channel. They've got some. I spam through a few of their horrors,
Okay.
and they're all enjoyable. But you go onto their website, and it talks about the stuff they do. And I think they've got a system where they've almost got like a Patreon where people just like donate £1 a month or something to help them fund their work, and they've done this brilliant, highly polished video for their investors, and it's
Wow.
fantastic.
Okay.
It's not horror. It's a comedy kind of thing to get people to back them,
Of
but
course.
it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic, well worth checking out.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, man. And I think that's, if there's one thing we want to do on this podcast, it's, to help promote some stuff like that and to bring some extra eyes to
Yeah,
independent filmmakers and people out there reaching and trying to, put some work together. So yeah, definitely. I'd love to see what these guys do. I'd love to see a little bit more. Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt, yeah, great link. I can't wait to see what you
awesome.
send over next week. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, that's it from me.
All right, sir. I think that's it from me as well. So thank you for joining us again. It's been real fun, Chris. I've really
That's
enjoyed
been
this one.
amazing. Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, man. So we will catch you next week. Until then, stay safe, horror hounds.
See you guys.
Bye.